Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to our panel on why Estonia is a startup nation. So first of all, we're joined by three lovely people here. I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves, starting from Crystal.
Hi, it's very nice to meet you, Alex. So my name is Kristel, and I am the founder and chief testing officer at Testlio. And Testlio is the originator of network testing, which means that through our test management platform, our global freelancer software testers network, and our services team, we provide different software testing capabilities like regression testing, functional testing, end-to-end testing, live stream testing, payments, and more. And our clients include Amazon, Microsoft, CBS, American Express, the SAP, and so much more. And we have a team of more than 85 full-time employees,
Wow.
and we are now distributed by design, which means that, yes, we do have clusters like in Tallinn, Tartu, as well as in Austin, Texas, in the US, but we have decided, like especially after the pandemic hit, that we are always going to be hiring wherever the talent is.
Excellent. Let's hear from Olagan next.
Hi, I'm Alagan Mahalingam, the founder of Root Code Labs. Root Code Labs is a software consulting firm, and we build mobile applications, we build web and cloud applications, and artificial intelligence products. Over the years, we have been working with companies ranging from startups to bigger corporations and helping them build software and AI better. We work with customers in the North America, some of the biggest retailers in the US. We work with some of the banks in Sweden. We work with one of the leading energy companies in Portugal, and then many other companies in the Asia and Middle East as well. It's always great to be a part of the vibrant e-resident community, and I'm really looking forward for the discussion today.
Thank you. How about Bertrand?
Hi, so thank you for having me. I'm Bertrand and I'm the founder of Seven Flows. So Seven Flows is a company which aims to allow big and large company to work better and to innovate faster. So let's say yes, it's a consulting company, and I would say our job is to make things happen. We work with large companies, mainly banks, insurances, also industry across whole Europe, from even further, because we go from Siberia to Morocco, going through Germany, France, Spain, helping company create innovation ecosystems and also find new ways of working to work better and more efficiently. And particularly in this period, actually, we help them structure their remote work environment to foster leadership, engagement, and to keep everything carrying and sustainable.
Excellent. So again, my name is Alex Wellman. I'm head of marketing here at e-Residency. I myself have been working here in Estonia for e-Residency for almost 5 years now. And one thing I've noticed is that Estonia is not only good in its public sector, meaning its e-governance, but it's also one of the biggest business hubs in Europe for its kind of small size. And one thing people have always told me is that when you start a company in Estonia, you have to think globally from the beginning, because the domestic market here is either non-existent or just too small. So my first question will be for Crystal. Do you agree with this statement that you have to think globally from the beginning when you have your company in Estonia?
Absolutely. So I think that's one of the key factors for the success of Estonian startups as well, that we've had to think outside of the box or outside of the local market here. And I can definitely draw a parallel with the story of Tesla as well. So initially, the idea of Tesla was born out of my frustration when I was working in London. And then as I never really aimed to become an entrepreneur or anything, I just ended up winning a hackathon with the great idea of Tesla. And then I had to move back from London to Estonia because I had no resources I had no financials put on the side to develop the Tesla further. So coming back to Estonia was a reasonable thing to do, just to save money and figure out what they're going to do next with my co-founder. And so we ended up going to live with my husband's parents, who is my husband is my co-founder, and then. We kind of started like looking here at the Estonian market, and I started looking for mentors for the company. And we met one of the founders of Pipedrive, which is another very successful Estonian company, and we met its founder Ragnar, who immediately told us like, "Hey guys, what are you doing here in Estonia? There's no market here. Like you need to get out of here." And so thanks to like his encouragement, we applied to a business accelerator program in the US called Techstars.
Okay.
And so that was like a very important thing for us. And now more than 95% of our revenue is coming from the customers in the US. Definitely like there are like really big companies that need services like Tesla. Like these companies need to think globally themselves, and using Tesla services is the way to go.
Great. And you know, our guest Alagan, you also do business globally as well, have lots of customers in the UK and the US. And, you know, I know you're not Estonian yourself, you're an e-resident who has a company here, but do you also like this mindset of Estonia that, you know, things can be scaled and that Estonia can be a good place to kind of have your base, either physically or digitally, but then you can do business around the world through through Estonia?
Absolutely. Originally, in Root Code Labs, we about 90% of our revenue comes from North America, Europe, and the UK, and then a little bit of rest of the world as well. And all this time, I was looking for a very efficient and transparent base outside, which also has a great market access. And when I came across Estonia, and when I started traveling and understanding the ecosystem, it was kind of a no-brainer for us to register our business in Estonia, because it gave us a great market access. It helped us get much ahead in the European Union region and the rest of the world. And the ecosystem has been absolutely helpful for us throughout the years.
Excellent. And Bertrand, how about you? Now, how did you, find e-Residency and decide to, start your company in Estonia?
Oh, it's a quite interesting story, I think, because my job is about moving a lot, and I already had clients in many countries and had to move from client to client, to move from country to country. And the problem was running a business when you are moving a lot in nearly any country in Europe is quite complicated, because you've got paper documents to fill, and people coming to your mail, and you're not at home, you cannot do that. It's quite difficult to manage. So I was looking for that, and I fall on an article from Wired in the UK talking about e-Residency, and I was thinking, wow, it's too good to be true. Honestly, how can it exist? And then I had a look, I applied for e-Residency, and everything was easy, everything was really seamless, and the experience was great. And a few weeks after, I had my e-resident card, and I was e-resident, I had my company. And since then, it's just a pleasure to run it, because it's very easy. You can run it from anywhere in the world. I have to say also, I'm a big surfer. I like surfing. And if you like surfing, you have to move. You have to live near to the beach, and it's very easy to manage the company in Estonia from anywhere in the world. And also, I would add to this conversation about thinking globally. When you have this experience, and building and starting a location-independent business is also, it makes you think different. it makes you think global because since your business already is location independent, the way you think is also location independent, and you start thinking global. So it was quite a great experience, and it still does.
Yeah, I would like definitely like to reference to Bertrand as well, where we have to like think differently from day one, and we have to be out of our comfort zones from day one. Where, like for example, when we got into the US, when Estonians are used to like aggressively wait for customers to call them, then in the US it's the opposite way, right? Like you need to aggressively call your customers
Yep.
to become clients of yours, right? So it definitely put us strongly out of our comfort zone to keep pushing our limits, and I think that what makes us very resilient and consistent, and like just go for success.
So we have three people here. Crystal is Estonian, she's here, and we have two e-residents. But my question for Crystal would be, you know, we're talking a lot about location independence as well. But you know, you and your husband, co-founder, live here in Estonia, but you run your company. You have 80 employees, like you said. So, is there anything about Estonia that makes that easier for you to run your company, and if you want to be location independent? I know it's a little bit difficult right now with the coronavirus, but traveling and everything like that.
Yeah, well, at first when we started the company, like we were very clear that we want to have the headquarters of the company here in Estonia because we are Estonians, and it's our home. We know the culture, we know the people. It seemed just a lot easier for us to do it. And then based on like all the other experiences that other successful Estonian startups had, was that they hired like sales and clients team, for example, to the States. So we decided to have another office in the US as well. And so at some point, like it was 4 years ago, we were sure that we want to have an office in Silicon Valley in San Francisco. So we got ourselves an office space, hired a lot of team members, and we quickly realized that in Silicon Valley, like all the distances were so long that a lot of the times people decided to just work from home instead of coming to the office, but we were paying like $30,000 for office rent, right? And then we realized that what if like we would like start working from home, and then and from there we have had like our US team working from different co-working spaces. Now as we hired a CEO 2 years ago, we have a cluster in Austin, Texas, but still our team is fully like distributed. We have people in LA, we have people in San Diego, now we have a person in Florida, so it's like fully distributed. And after the pandemic hit, we fully decided that talent is everywhere, and we can be flexible, like vertically, which means that like I can be in Tallinn today and I can be in Marbella tomorrow without even notifying my team, because if I can support my team and my customers in the time zone, then it doesn't matter. And so I think everybody like has to start thinking about this way, and like I think that's the key to success as well.
Great. And Bertrand, you've been a location independent entrepreneur for a long time, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that and how that works for you?
Yes, indeed, because okay, I like visiting new countries. I like seeing culture. I was also living in Germany before. I have good relationship to Ukraine, good relationship to Russia, and for me, it's something very important that you can run your company from anywhere. You can be anywhere in the world. And as Crystal said, particularly during the pandemic and the previous situation, it was also great because being a location independent entrepreneur, moving around a lot, going from country to country, when the pandemic came, for me, my life didn't change that much, in fact, because I made the decision to go to a place with a fewer people. I could do my work there, I could do my job, and also it's great for my clients because when you are used to move, the experience was great also during the pandemic. I could support them because I was used to work from anywhere, to be available and to deliver also a remote experience, which was great to the client. And also I brought my job to another area, meaning teaching them how to do that. how to be location independent, and how to be able to work from home in a great way. And I think this happens also because of the structure of the company, the culture we build with e-residency. We are location independent people. We have a great country to come in, which is Estonia, and we can move all over the world. And I think it changes a lot the culture and the way we think as entrepreneurs. And also it allows us to deliver a great experience to clients anywhere in the world. Actually, I also help my, I would say, colleagues, the people who do a pretty similar job, just to deliver this kind of experience, because clients are asking for that right now. Large companies, okay, American one, yes, but in Europe, not all of them are remote companies, and they are not used to remote experiences. And I think it's great to be able to provide them this experience and to help people to provide this client this kind of experience. So it changes a little bit the way we work in a good way, I think.
You know, something about Estonia, I think, is Estonia has a lot of ecosystem available to help companies. Lots of things like Garage 48, Startup Wise Guys, accelerators, programs like that. One thing I think they've done very well is there was something called the Global Hack that happened earlier this year that was a response to the when the coronavirus pandemic first started, where it was people came together to try to think of solutions. Olagon participated in this program. So can you tell us about that? You know, tell us about kind of getting involved in the Startup Nation here and getting involved in that global hack.
Global hack was a very surprising thing that happened to us. It all started with an email from the e-Residency team encouraging us to participate. Until then, we have been formulating this idea. One of the issues that we started seeing during the pandemic was that all of a sudden the world went into a shock. Everything was shut down. And if you are somebody whose business relies on talking to customers face to face, whether it be a psychologist or a fitness trainer, yoga instructor, or a coach or a mentor, everybody's business was immediately shut down. And we saw our friends struggling, and we saw people asking, why can't we have an app which can, where you can just go and find an expert from very different fields and just pay through your credit card, and then have the consultation happening online. And that's when we realized the bigger systems which focuses on video consulting do not really solve our problem. And then we went ahead and we started sketching the ideas, but we never did anything until Global Hack. So when Global Hack happened, we just overnight decided to participate, and we started building the product in that 48 hours, came up with a beautiful prototype. We got exposed to some amazing mentors in the Global Hack team, and we ended up winning the work track. And from that point onwards, we named it Serve, and now we have rebranded as Expert Republic. From the Global Hack winning to now, we have scaled so much, and all of them started with the hackathon. And it feels really good to see every day, look at the dashboard and see the bookings happening. And I think a big part of the credits goes to the Residency team and the Garage 48 team.
Thank you. You know, the topic of our discussion today is Estonia as a startup nation. So I would just like to do a lightning round with all the panelists here. And can you just tell us in your own words, do you agree with the premise of that? Do you think that Estonia is a startup nation? Why or why not? Starting with Crystal.
Oh, well, for sure. There's a saying as well, I think it's statistically proven as well, that we have the most startups per capita in Europe, right?
Yep.
So there's no doubt that we are a startup nation, and there's constantly like all these events happening, like we're Hack the Crisis, like Salto Growth Camp driven by Ragnar Sass
Yes.
and his team. We have Garage 48, we have DigiGirls, we have like all these different programs that are incentivizing and encouraging people to start their own companies. So we definitely see an increasing number of people just going after like solving their their own problems that they're passionate about, and so no doubt that we are a startup nation, and I hope we wear it very proudly in the world as well. Like I remember when we started going to the US as well, then everybody knew about Skype.
Yes.
And so that still holds true, but now, like you hear people talking about TransferWise, for
TransferWise,
example,
yeah.
Pipedrive,
Yep.
and so there are a lot of successes coming from Estonia, and I'm so proud that we've been able to do this.
Great. Bertrand, what do you think? Do you agree? Do you think Estonia is a startup nation?
I definitely agree, and I would say it's an amazing one. If we talk about startup is about starting, and I don't know any country in the world where it's so easy and where the experience is that great to start a business. This is first of all. And second point regarding startup is about network, having people around, and having startups around you, which makes to me a startup nation. And in Estonia is just amazing. The way the ecosystem is built, as Crystal says, the events. The first time in my life I was at Latitude 59, it was just a mind-blowing experience. It was amazing because when you go to this kind of conference, most of the time it's promotion. It's all about show off, and Latitude 59 was great energy and great place to be. And physically, I think Estonia is a great startup nation, and globally, with e-Residency, the program, the hub, and the way Estonia shines across the world with so many great companies, definitely I agree with that.
Great. Olgan, how about you? Is Estonia a startup nation?
Absolutely, yes. I think Estonia is the startup nation for multiple reasons. My number one would be the ecosystem, and then the transparency and the welcoming feeling that you get in the ecosystem. That's my number one. Number two is the efficiency of Estonia as a whole, and a big part goes to the government and the agencies. It's so easy to run a business in Estonia. Almost everything that you need to do with the government is online. And the government agencies are very welcoming, and they want to support the ecosystem and the entrepreneurs, which makes it kind of a beautiful place to start your business. And my number three is the Estonian mindset as a whole. Estonians have this beautiful mindset of kind of like the world-winning mindset, which is very innovative and very supportive to people with similar passion. So because of that, I think a lot of great entrepreneurs and great people around the world get kind of attracted into Estonia, and I can clearly see that happening. And that is the third asset, which but altogether, I think Estonia would be a great startup nation.
Great.
And as my colleagues here were talking as well, I really started thinking about the fact that like in Estonia, like you're so encouraged and like you're so empowered and motivated by the success stories of Estonia that like very young children start thinking about their own company, starting their own companies very, very early, which is super cool. And I hope that we will never lose that. And
Yeah.
I feel like with the e-Residency program and like the recent visa that we came up with for the expats, for example, like we need to have more diversity because like when we like mix our cultures together and like different people get together, then amazing things happen, right? Like all these success stories from Estonia are a great example of that. So we need to keep everything open, and I think it's very, very important.
Excellent. Now, what about, I mean, if you're going to be a true startup nation, being a startup means iterating. It means even pivoting sometimes, right? Or doing things differently and changing all the time. So, you know, what could Estonia do better to support startups, to support entrepreneurs, or, you know, just in general to make this great thing even better?
Is that a question to me?
It's a question to you, yes.
I'm just thinking right now, what are the things that we could be doing better? Maybe you can ask that from my colleagues first, as I'm thinking about
Sure.
it.
Bertrand, what do you think? I mean, we've been, singing the praises of Estonia and its business environment and e-residency, but I think we can all do better and serve entrepreneurs better. So, do you have any ideas of what Estonia can do to improve its startup nation?
Yeah, okay, my point of view is very much the one of an e-resident, and Estonia as a startup nation from an e-resident point of view. What I love in Estonia is the network, and for e-resident, I wish for years that this network would be more solid. I mean, there are initiatives such as Erika to build a bigger network, but as an resident, what I would love is just to feel even more this Estonian energy. I mean, to be part of it a little bit more, to have this kind of hub network more global, because even if the experience is amazing, and it is, actually, when you come to Estonia, you get more. I was in Estonia a few times, and I love it. I love being in Tallinn, and you get more of this energy. If you go to Teleskivi, you have more of this energy. And what I would like is that Estonia would be able to spread a little bit this energy in a digital way, so that we get more of it. So feeling more Estonian, let's say, because Estonia is a startup nation.
That's a really good point. I mean, with e-residency, you can do everything online. You don't need to come to Estonia to take advantage of our business environment, have your company here, and even to do business and do networking. But of course, when you're here in person and you get to be a part of the ecosystem physically, it's always better, right? So we do have some programs for that. To just mention quickly, we have something called Startup Visa, where if you want to bring your team physically here to Estonia, you can do that through this program. And we have something we launched recently called the Digital Nomad Visa, where if you are self-employed for a company outside of Estonia, or if you have a company in Estonia, but your clients are outside of Estonia, then you can actually come to Estonia physically through that program as well. So I think it's really great that Estonia is offering these digital solutions to people through e-residency, but also doing some things to help people come physically here as well.
And there are different services and companies as well that help e-residents set up everything here in Estonia. Like Solo, for example, is an example of an Estonian company that helps e-residencies do that, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, as Bertrand was talking about some of the things that maybe Estonia could be doing better for the residents or just for the entrepreneurs, then I would say that my experience has been great so far, right? But one of the things that I've heard people talking about in the community is maybe some better tax benefits, like as you start out as a company, maybe there are some things that we could do there. But nothing else really comes up to my mind at the moment as an Estonian, because I think compared to some other countries, especially in the US, we are in a very, very good place.
Yeah, I fully agree. So, but I do think it's good to obviously talk about how to improve and things we can do differently.
For sure.
So I'll turn it over to Alagan. Alagan, if you were CEO of Estonia's startup nation, what changes would you like to make?
That's a very interesting question. I think over time I've been thinking about some smaller improvements. One, for example, for me personally, the best part of Estonia is to be able to come to Estonia and experience everything. To be able to go to a co-working space, meet people, sit around, attend these startup events. That's what has given me the exposure into the ecosystem. But not a lot of entrepreneurs, even e-residents, get to do that because they would be from a part of the world which doesn't really give them the flexibility to freely travel into Estonia. So being able to give that exposure to entrepreneurs would have been an amazing thing. And with the digital nomad visa, that's what Estonia is enabling for freelancers and entrepreneurs to come into Estonia and then experience the world while they keep working with their companies. And there's one more thing that I have been noticing recently. It might just be us, but we started hiring aggressively in Estonia in the last few weeks, and we are noticing kind of a lack of talent pool, which is very understandable because there are some really great companies that are functioning in Estonia, which kind of snaps up all the great people in the ecosystem. So one thing that as a country, what we can do is to enable the greatest talents in the world to kind of frictionlessly come into Estonia and be able to add value to the industry and ecosystem, um, which is something that very similar to what happened in the Silicon Valley like few decades back. There was a time like all the greatest people around the world, everybody flocked to the Silicon Valley and started building the next generation of the companies that we see as multi-billion dollar right now. So if we can figure out ways to encourage more talent pool to come into Estonia, that might help companies like us to do hiring easier and also eventually build a much bigger ecosystem, much stronger and much more sustainable ecosystem for the future.
Thank you. So, Krista, I want to come back to something you said a few minutes ago. I think an important part of being a startup nation is also education. Estonia ranks very highly for its education system. I think it's #1 in Europe for the PISA test recently, and also many other kind of metrics. So how do you think that plays into Estonia's success? And you mentioned like helping even kids maybe start a company if they want, or have this kind of entrepreneurial mindset. Do you think that's something that's important in Estonia?
Like definitely, like our education plays like a huge role in who we become in our lives. But yeah, like there have been like some controversial like points being brought in, like if you know how to like do maths, like can you translate that into building your company as well? But yeah, our education definitely plays a huge role, and I come from a very small village here in Estonia called Kose. So I grew up there. I graduated high school, and I like after high school. At that time, when I graduated high school back in 2008, we didn't really have any programs. We didn't have like DigiGirls or Civita, for example, like doing programs for small children on coming up with their own ideas. But then, like for me, Skype was always like the dream almost, that kept the light on and just kept me pushing to become the best at what I do. For me, obviously, at that point, it was becoming the best tester, but then I discovered a lot of problems in the software testing industry that I thought should be solved, and here we are today. So I don't know how much the education plays role, but it definitely does pay.
Well, I think there's different forms of education too, right? Like there's formal education that you get at a school, but I've also heard many people say that when Skype started in Estonia, it was like a business school popped out of the ground, and all of those founders then went on to work in other companies and took that knowledge. So I think in the ecosystem in Estonia, people take the entrepreneurial knowledge they get from one company and they work with each other.
And then the successful entrepreneurs become investors. They invest in companies, and like back when we did our seed round back in 2015 or 14. Like at that time, there were not that many seed investors yet, but now it has obviously, like the number has increased because of the success of like TransferWise, Pipedrive, and all these other companies. So it's super exciting. And so, yeah, like people should definitely like consider coming to Estonia and like having a piece of that startup nation that we have. It's great. And I think what makes Estonia very special for me as well, compared to Silicon Valley, where I've traveled a lot due to work and where we had an office as well, is that in Estonia, it feels like everybody knows everybody, and everybody like wants to help each other. So like it's very common, like Estonian startups making introductions to different VCs across the sea and everywhere. So yeah, and there have been great stories come out of this relationship building as well.
Sure. And, I'm an American myself, living here in Estonia, and, I hear the comparison to Silicon Valley all the time here, and you just mentioned a few, different things, but I know Olagan also has some experience working in Silicon Valley as well. Could you tell us a little bit, maybe
Yeah.
some of the differences or things that are the same that you've noticed between Estonia's ecosystem and Silicon Valley?
Oh, that's interesting. um, when I get to compare Estonia with Silicon Valley, I always compare Estonia with Silicon Valley like 3 decades before. There was a time in Silicon Valley when it was so welcoming, when it had all the greatest talented people flocking into the Silicon Valley. It had a great support from the ecosystem. People were willing to invest in your products. People were willing to work with you and kind of bring out the best technologies. All of that 3 decades back, now I see happening in Estonia as a very fresh thing. And that's why I believe in the Estonian ecosystem a lot. And I would bet on the future of the Estonian ecosystem because it's at the very early stage of building some of the greatest technologies and the products for the world. That's the similarity between Silicon Valley at some point and Estonia right now. And if I go into the differences, from my opinion, is Silicon Valley is very saturated right now. It's just it's very crowded. People don't have the luxury of knowing each other anymore. People don't refer you anymore because it's just very crowded and very busy. And unless you're part of some of the strongest networks, it's very hard for you to lift your idea up the ground. On contrary, Estonia, people know each other. I'm just a kid, like nobody from Sri Lanka, an island, people wouldn't even know, right? And we were literally picked up by the Estonian ecosystem and the government and the e-Residency team that is taking us to the next level. And people help us, people mentor us, the ecosystem partners personally have an interest in making sure that root code and we are successful. And that I see as the biggest difference between Estonia and Silicon Valley.
Thank you. And Bertrand, what about you? I mean, I know you travel a lot. You spend lots of time in different places. What have you noticed? How does Estonia's kind of business ecosystem or compare to other places that you're familiar with?
Oh, the business ecosystem in Estonia is very interesting because I think it's quite unique. Actually, I'm French, so I know a little bit about the business ecosystem in France, and it's very city-centric. And in fact, even if we have great things in France, like French Tech and something, it stays at scale of micro ecosystem, I would say. And Crystal was telling something before about people helping each other. This is something you don't find that much. I saw that a little bit starting in Ukraine also as a stronger ecosystem. But most ecosystems that I've seen in Europe are whether city-based or maybe region-based or area. But what you have in Estonia, okay, of course, because Estonia is not a very big country, but it's global. So you don't see really borders in Estonia. It's very tightly bound together, and which is also quite unique. And it was very appealing the first time I saw that and came there. You have everything you need. You have on one side the education, which is very suited to promote entrepreneurship, You have a big ecosystem with a lot of startups and very successful startups, and you have also a great support from government. So you have the academic side, you have the business side, and you have the government side. And I think these three parts are very well put together and work well together. And I think this is very unique, and it makes Estonia very fast, very quick, adaptive, and reactive and powerful. And this is something I've never seen by now. I know a lot of Nordic countries or in the Baltic area are evolving that way, but it's in most countries it's not the case. So at least it's not what I've seen. Maximum you find something related to a city, and it's a very small hub, and it's a business hub, but education may maybe lacking, or maybe you don't have the government part. So, and I think in Estonia it's quite unique, and it makes Estonia very powerful and very forward-thinking in that way.
Estonia is like a startup itself. I was thinking as well that like we're such a small nation, we can iterate so fast, and like we hear the feedback from all the e-residents, for example, and like we can take that feedback, implement it really fast, and make a change, and that pays to our advantage again. So it's very cool.
Well, Estonia is like a startup itself. That's a great note to end on. So I'd like to thank everyone today for joining us. Again, we hope if you're listening to this and watching this that you'll apply for e-residency, that you'll consider starting your company in Estonia. And if you need more information, we're here for you. So thanks a lot, everyone, for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.